One of the larger concerns with me and my ADHD is soothing behaviors, as medical professionals would call it. Soothing behaviors are an early indicator in a child's life that they could, in the future, be diagnosed with ADHD. Soothing behaviors can range from anything from thumb sucking to rocking back and forth, which is mine. With ADHD children, their minds are, overactive, meaning the hyperactivity, which I have, and they have anxiety. They have a small level of anxiety, at least early on. And by doing these physical soothing behaviors, it could help calm their brain, calm their thought patterns down, and help the child control themselves. Now, for me, what's been a big concern is I started rocking at 2 years old, my mother tells me. That's what my mother told me. She goes, I started noticing you rock at 2. And you think it would be a phase that I would grow out of eventually, but even to this day, at 23 years old, I'm still doing it. And it's a large source of concern. I mean, I'm not concerned about it personally, but if a passerby sees me doing it and I haven't caught myself doing it yet, they're gonna give me a stare, and because they don't know too much about ADHD, they don't know, that this rocking is associated with, ADHD, and because they don't know, they're going to give you stares. It's an abnormal behavior. It's irregular, and not many people do it. So because of that, they're going to give you stares. My big question is why I'm still doing it. It should be a phase. I shouldn't be doing this anymore. I shouldn't be rocking back and forth, but I am. And one thing that ADHD has taught me is how to personally turn my behaviors from an issue to perhaps a positive in any way I can. With the rocking, I noticed that I started doing it more as I got to college level. Tests were getting harder. Books were getting, more lengthy and more numerous. Studying was more strenuous, and the stress level was getting more intense. And because of that, it was giving me anxiety, and I was rocking back and forth more. And I didn't know what to do because I knew I was getting stares from people. I knew that, they were seeing me as somebody who was doing these abnormal and irregular behavior. So one day I just happened to notice that when I rock, I retain information better with my textbooks, with, papers, when I type up notes. When I write down notes, the information, when I rock back and forth, stays in my head better when I rock. So what I tried to do on a regular basis is find a nice quiet spot to do studying if I had a big test coming up. And I would, sit down, study, quiet place, and I would rock a little bit because I noticed that it helped. And if it meant getting an A, then so be it. And so that's one way I turn one of my aspects of ADHD from not so much a negative, but from a concern to a positive. And that's how I've been trying to fight this or wrestle with this in my young adult life. When I was 16 in 11th grade, I took myself off medication completely. I made a personal decision to completely take myself off medication. I had grown up a little bit. I was making more adult decisions. I was making more mature decisions from 8 years old when I was diagnosed to 16. And I thought I could turn my ADHD from a group decision between my parents and I into a problem, into not so much a problem, but into a issue that I can solve on my own because of my maturity level and because I had grown up a little bit. So I basically incorporated the ideas and the modification behaviors that my parents had practiced to me and made them personal. And what this came down to was a lot of keeping a check on myself, keeping I guess, an inventory on my behaviors, if you will. How many times I committed this behavior or that behavior. So, for example, if I was interrupting people in a conversation because I thought my idea was so important that it needed to get out right away, I would step back and say, Zach, this is a group setting. You need to let other people get their ideas out. They may have great ideas too. And you can't keep interrupting them because that's not good, group etiquette. Or if I was talking too fast, I'm like, Zach, your ideas are going to get out there one way or another. You don't have to tell them so fast. They'll still get out there. So I would step back and tell myself that. If I had a day where I was a little too energetic, I'm like, Zach, that could come across as annoying to people. And, you're just going to have to calm down sometimes. So, yes, some of it is thinking about other people. Even though this is a personal condition, ADHD, you do have to take the people you interact with into consideration because even though they might have been used to it, being my friends and my family, it's still unnecessary in some situations. The big part, going back to school, because that's been a large part of my life, these, 18 years I've been in school, I had to, since I was, like I said, more mature, I said to myself, okay, if you want to get good grades, you're going to have to focus in class. If you want to pass the tests, you're going to have to sit down and study. And you're going to have to take good notes, and you're going to have to, be active in class, raising your hand, asking questions, being a part of the discussion. So because I had grown up a little bit, I was able to tell myself that, okay, you need to sit down and do this because that means the difference between a C, a B, and an A. And so maturity had a lot to do, and the fact that I had grown up between 8 and 16 had a lot to do with my decision making and taking myself off my ADHD medication. And it was a successful decision to go completely from half medication, half modification to full modification. My GPA from 11th to 12th grade went up 3/4 of a point from a 3.85, from a 2.85 to a 3.5 cumulative. And I just thought it was a great decision on my part. The good grades continued throughout my community college days at Montgomery College, and I'm still holding a B average today at Towson University. So I feel like that commitment on my part to make this battle more of a personal battle with myself at 16 years old, it was a good call.